I didn't think I'd fall in love during therapy, especially not with her. It started with a splinter in my palm, a stupid one, barely worth noticing, from the old wooden bench outside the community center where I sat too long, waiting for a ride that never came. I picked at it until the skin reddened. That's when she noticed. She was standing outside the door, locking up for the night. Tan trench coat, low heels, dark waves pinned loosely like she hadn't cared much today. Or maybe cared too much and ran out of time. She didn't look at me first. She looked at my hand. "You're making it worse," she said, not unkindly. I said something dumb like, "Good. It's keeping me awake." She didn't laugh, just walked over, holding out a key card, and her hand like this wasn't strange. "I'm Mita. I'm a therapist here." I didn't move. "I'm not asking for your secrets," she added. "Just let me look before you infect it." It wasn't the kind of voice you argue with. Not because it was stern, because it was tired in a way that made me want to protect it. So I followed her inside. The therapy office looked nothing like I expected. Warm lamp, old velvet chairs, the smell of eucalyptus and paper. A record player in the corner, half buried under files. She pulled out a small kit, twisted the cap off an antiseptic wipe. "Seed." I did. Her hands were steady. Mine weren't. "Name?" she asked. "Liam. Liam," she repeated like she was testing it. That's a lot of tension for someone so young. "You think I'm young?" "I think you flinch a lot." I looked at her then. Really looked. She had those kind of eyes, the ones that see too much. Not in a therapist way. In a woman who's been through it kind of way. I didn't say anything, but I didn't flinch the next time she touched me. When she was done, she held my wrist just a second too long before letting go. "There," she said. "Survived." "I didn't even bleed," I muttered. She tilted her head. "Doesn't mean it didn't hurt." The silence stretched. That kind that hums with something neither of you will name yet. And then, stupid, nervous, I asked, "So, is this your thing?" Saving emotionally unstable men from rogue furniture. Her smile flickered, barely there. Only the ones who sit outside my office looking like they need more than a bandage. I opened my mouth. Closed it again. That's when her phone buzzed. She didn't check it. Instead, she looked at me, really looked, for longer than she should have, like she was measuring something between right and worth it. Then she said it. "Let's talk about what you need." Not in a clinical way. Not with a clipboard. A whisper. Like a secret. And I swear to God, I forgot how to breathe. She didn't move. Neither did I. But I watched her thumb twitch against her thigh, just once. I think she knew. I think I did too. Because when I finally stood to leave, her hand brushed mine. Barely. Accidental. But not really. Not accidental at all. The thing about Mira is she doesn't ask questions the way other people do. She waits. And that's worse. Because when someone's quiet long enough, you start answering things they haven't even said. I came back the next day. Not for therapy. She said she needed help moving boxes from the back storage room. I said yes before she finished the sentence. I told myself it was just a favor. She told herself the same, I think. But when I showed up, her hair was down. And that was the first lie between us. The boxes were filled with books. Heavy ones, old ones, the kind with titles about memory, grief, trauma. I carried them. She directed. We didn't talk about what happened yesterday. Except we did. And everything we didn't say. She handed me one of the smaller boxes, fingers brushing mine, not the back of the hand this time, but the inside of the wrist. My pulse betrayed me. Her eyes flicked there, then away. "I've been thinking about yesterday," I said too fast. She didn't look up. "Don't." "Why not?" "Because I'm your therapist." "You aren't." She paused. "You could be," she said, quieter. We stood in the hallway, stale fluorescent light buzzing overhead. A vent rattled behind the wall. She leaned against the doorframe like she needed it to hold her up. "I've known women like her," she said suddenly. "Your mother, I mean. The way she spoke to you on the phone yesterday. That's not new to me." I stiffened. I'd forgotten she overheard that. "She gets loud when she's worried." I mumbled. "She gets cruel," Mira corrected. Softly. "No judgment. Just truth." And that's when I knew she saw me. Not just the way I acted, but the parts one tried to cover with jokes and shrugs and sarcasm. The parts that felt younger than I wanted to be. I sat down on the edge of the desk. She stayed standing, arms crossed, but not defensive. Just closed off, like she didn't trust herself if they dropped. "You seem tired," I said. She gave a dry smile. "You ever try holding everyone else's pain for 8 hours a day?" "Not yet." "Don't." I watched her then. Noticed how she rubbed the edge of her thumb over and over like she didn't know she was doing it. How the necklace she wore yesterday was gone today. Like maybe it reminded her of someone she wasn't trying to remember. And I hated that I wanted to ask, to know who had hurt her, to fix something that didn't belong to me. She looked at me again, and this time the silence burned. "You don't have to leave right away," she said. "If you don't want to." I didn't answer, not with words, just move closer. And when her hand touched my arm, not accidental, not anymore, I almost said it, the thing I wasn't supposed to say. I didn't leave. She offered tea. I said yes, even though I hate tea. We sat on the office floor because the chairs felt too formal, too far. There was a candle flickering on the side table, one of those fake ones, battery-powered, but it still made the shadows move. She asked me something small at first. "What do you study?" "Dropped out," I said. "Didn't stick." "Why not?" I shrugged. Didn't feel like I was meant for anything finishable. She looked at me then, really looked, and said, "You talk like someone who's already given up." I meant to laugh. I didn't. Instead, I looked at her knees folded beneath her, the run in her tights just above the ankle, and wondered who she used to be before this version of her, before therapy degrees and soft-spoken deflections. "Do you ever want to just stop being the strong one?" I asked. She blinked. Slowly. That pause again. Her armor. "I stopped waiting for someone to ask me that," she said. And that silence between us cracked open, like the floor might split and we'd both fall in. I didn't touch her, but I leaned just enough that if she wanted to, she could. And she didn't move away. She closed her eyes instead. Not like she was tired, but like she didn't want to see this happening. "I shouldn't let you stay," she said quietly. Then asked me to go. She didn't. And I hated how much I wanted her to break first. How much I needed it to not be my fault. Her hand reached behind her, searching for the mug she'd set down, but missed. Her fingers brushed mine instead. Neither of us corrected the mistake. I watched her hand. The veins, the wedding ring tan line. Whoever left it there, I wanted to ask what he did wrong. I wanted to promise I wouldn't. She finally looked at me again, and I saw it. The conflict. The want buried under all that self-control. "I haven't," she started, then stopped. Bit her lip. "You haven't what?" She exhaled through her nose. "Let anyone in like this." "Like what?" Her throat worked like swallowing something down. Like I might want it to mean something. I felt everything in me still. Like my body knew not to move, not to mess this up. "I can't be your patient," I said, voice rougher than I meant. "You're not," she whispered. We both knew that wasn't true. Not technically, not emotionally, but truth felt bendable in that moment. She reached out, finally, touched my jaw, barely there, just her fingertips resting, and I closed my eyes like a coward, or maybe a man praying not to ruin it. It would have been easier if she pulled away, but she didn't. Her fingers stayed on my face like they'd forgotten how to leave, thumb barely moving, tracing the edge of my jaw like it was muscle memory she wasn't supposed to have. "I'm not trying to confuse you," she said. "You're not." She laughed under her breath. "Don't lie to me, Liam." I opened my mouth, closed it. She leaned back then, just enough to breathe again. Pulled her knees to her chest, arms wrapped tight around them like a girl, not a woman with framed degrees and lock file drawers. "I was married," she said suddenly. 8 years. He left last winter. I didn't move. He said I made him feel like a client, that I was always diagnosing everything, even silence. I let that settle. "You don't do that with me," I said. She looked over, sharply. No, I said. "You don't look at me like a puzzle. You look at me like you're afraid. I already solved you." Her mouth parted like she wanted to argue, but didn't. "I came in here with a splinter," I continued. "And now I can't stop thinking about your hands." She stared at me, unblinking. "You want me to say it?" I asked. "You want me to be the one to cross the line?" "Don't," she said, but it came out like "please do." I stood, pacing now, energy folding in on itself. "You're the only person I feel quiet around, Mira. Not fixed, just like I can breathe." She stayed seated. "Small. Dangerous. I think about you when I shouldn't," I said, softer now. "In the morning. At night. When I'm alone. Especially when I'm alone. She shut her eyes. Like that would undo the words. It's not just attraction, I said. It's worse. It's how you talk to me like I matter. It's how you look at me like I'm more than the shit I've been dragging behind me since I was a kid. Silence fell. Thick. Stretching. She opened her eyes slowly. You're 23, Liam. I know. I'm 42. I know. And then she stood. Walked past me. Not touching. Not speaking. I thought she was leaving. That this was her exit, the clean cut. But instead, she went to the door and locked it. Turned back around. I shouldn't have done that, she said. But you did. She walked closer. Step by step. No plan in her body. Just a storm of second thoughts and need. I'm not asking for promises, I said. I'm just... She stopped in front of me. Close enough to see the red at the corner of her eyes. The mascara she forgot she wore. The tiny scar on her lip I hadn't noticed before. Then she whispered, what if we ruin each other? And I didn't have an answer. Only the echo of that question settling between us like gravity. I should have kissed her. But I didn't. I stood there, frozen in the weight of her question. What if we ruin each other? And I couldn't say yes. I couldn't say no either. And then her phone lit up. She didn't even touch it, just glanced over her shoulder at the glow. My eyes followed. The name on the screen stopped my breath cold. Dr. Rowan Callahan. I knew that name. Not because she mentioned it. Because he was supposed to be my therapist. 6 months ago, after the referral from campus. After I admitted I wasn't sleeping and that the anger was getting sharp around the edges. I'd Googled the practice. Found the names. I'd even looked up Mira Callahan by accident. Saw her photo on the website and clicked away fast. Wife of Dr. Rowan Callahan. Her name had been there. Still hyphenated. But she'd said Winter. She said he left. The screen dimmed. The name faded. I looked at her, really looked, and she knew. She saw it on my face before I could speak. You know him, she said. I was supposed to see him, I replied. I didn't. I saw you instead. Something in her mouth trembled. Not quite a flinch, not quite regret. You knew? I asked. She swallowed. Not until now. That's why you stopped yourself yesterday, I said. That's why you said you shouldn't let me stay. She didn't confirm it. But she didn't have to. And still her body didn't move. Still so close to mine, I could feel the heat off her skin. You said he left, I said, voice lower now. He did. But the name's still in your phone. She shook her head, almost smiling. You don't get to decide when someone lets go. You just feel it and try not to drown. That cracked something open in me. Because I've been there, too. On the other side of that silence. When love folds in on itself and leaves without packing a bag. I stayed, I said quietly. Even after my dad left. I stayed. My mom never said thank you. Not once. Her eyes met mine. There was no judgment. Only knowing. I'm not him, I said. And I'm not some rebound from your husband's ghost. No, she whispered. You're not. Then her hand reached for mine. And for a second, it felt possible again, like maybe the past didn't own every room we entered. But before our fingers met, there was a knock on the office door. 3 slow knocks. She stepped back, just slightly. Breath caught. The voice came next. Hey, Mira, you left your lights on again. A man's voice. Familiar. It wasn't her husband. It was my roommate. The knock didn't come again. Just one of those casual check-ins that meant everything now. I heard his footsteps fade down the hall. Carefree, clueless. But we were frozen. Mira stood like her skin didn't fit right anymore. One hand still midair, the other covering her mouth like she was holding something in or holding herself in. I should go, I said, voice low. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she walked to the bookshelf, rested her hand on a row of hard covers like they might anchor her. Her back was to me. I didn't plan this, she said. I know. I didn't think I'd want this. I swallowed. Do you? She turned. Something in her face had changed, not gone soft, but real. That hard honesty people only use when they're tired of pretending. I want something I can't have without hurting both of us. I nodded. That hurt more than I thought it would. And maybe that was the clearest answer I'd ever get. I walked to the door. My hand found the lock. I heard her move behind me. Not fast, but certain. You weren't just some lost boy to me, Liam. I stopped. You looked at me like I was still someone worth being seen, she said. Like I wasn't invisible just because I stopped being someone's wife. I turned, slowly. Our eyes met again. You looked at me, she repeated. Not through me. Do you know how rare that is? I wasn't trying to fix you, I said. I know, she whispered. That's why it broke me. We stood in that space between want and restraint. Nothing left to say, but too much to let go of cleanly. I stepped closer. Just one step. I don't know what this was, I said, but I'll remember it, even if it ends here. She reached out and touched my wrist, the same one from that first night, the one she cleaned with antiseptic like it mattered. She didn't kiss me, but her forehead touched mine, gently, quietly, like a confession without language. Promise me something, she said. Anything. Don't shrink yourself to fit someone else's comfort. I blinked. Is that what you're doing right now? A pause. Then, maybe. But I've lived long enough to know the difference between a moment and a life. I wanted to argue. I really did. But something about her voice made it impossible. Instead, I nodded, slowly, and she let me go. I walked out of her office with every part of me aching, but none of it feeling wrong. Just unfinished. It's been 6 weeks. I haven't been back to the center. I walk past it sometimes, not on purpose, not exactly, but my feet always slow when I hit that stretch of sidewalk. Her window still has the tiny eucalyptus diffuser. The candle's gone. Mira and I never spoke again. No texts, no emails, no carefully worded goodbyes. Just silence, the kind you don't fill. But I think about her when I say less in conversations and mean more. I think about her when I speak softly, not to hide, but to care. She changed me, not because she fixed anything, but because she saw what was already there and chose to treat it like it mattered. It wasn't a love story that ended in fireworks. It was a slow-burning match that lit something deeper. Not forever, but real. She taught me something I never learned from my parents, my exes, or myself. That desire isn't the same as being wanted. That sometimes the bravest thing you can do is not take what you want. I stopped blaming myself for needing someone. I stopped hating myself for being soft in a world that rewards hardness. And I kept the tea mug. She doesn't know that. It was left behind in the box of books she asked me to move. I held it that night. I didn't kiss her, just held it in my hands like proof that something warm had once happened. I drink from it most mornings now. I don't picture her face anymore when I do. Just her voice, quiet, clear, careful. That night, when she said, "Promise me something. Don't shrink yourself to fit someone else's comfort." It stuck, and I didn't shrink. I let myself miss her. Not obsessively, not painfully, just honestly. Some connections aren't designed to last, but that doesn't make them mistakes. It makes them human. And maybe that's the whole point. Not to own people or keep them or define them in black and white roles, but to meet them deeply, even briefly, and walk away a little more whole. Because someone looked at you and saw you, and I didn't turn away.